Hello princesses! Today I'm going to be talking about how you can lighten up your concealers and your foundations. So I'm going to start off by talking a little bit about my skin. I have very yellow and very pale skin. If I had a tan, I would have olive skin. The rest of my family has very olive toned skin as well, but I prefer to be pale, so I'm a pale yellow coloured person. So I find that it's very difficult for me to find a foundation that's both pale enough and yellow enough for me. In New Zealand, for the drugstore foundations, it seems like the palest shade is usually cool toned. So oftentimes I do need to get the next shade up in terms of paleness so that I can get the right undertone. If you can get the matching undertone, it's really easy to lighten your foundations. So obviously the best thing to do is to get a white foundation to mix with the darker coloured foundations. My white foundation is from Phoenix Cosmetics. Phoenix Cosmetics actually custom make foundations, so instead of getting a custom colour, I asked for the foundation to just be white. Unfortunately, this one is quite runny in texture and it doesn't really have the coverage that I really wanted, so it's not actually my favourite, but it does the job. The more popular ones are MAC Face and Body Foundation in white and the Manic Panic in Dream Tone. Or is it Manic Panic Dream Tone? Not 100% on that one. The idea is that you can mix in a white foundation with a darker foundation to lighten the colour. Now, for the majority of things, this does work really nicely. There are a couple of things you have to watch out for. You don't want to mix different types of foundations with different types of mixers. So what you're looking for is your foundation a water-based foundation or an oil-based foundation or a silicone-based foundation? Because if your mixer is a water-based mixer and you're mixing it with a silicone-based foundation, they may not mix very well. So it's really important to read up on what type of mixer you're buying and what type of foundation you want to dilute. The other problem is that of course you are diluting your foundation, so you're not going to get the full effect. For instance, if I had Estee Lauder Double Wear and I mixed it with my white Phoenix foundation, this one has quite sheer coverage, so I am then diluting the high coverage of the Estee Lauder foundation with the sheer coverage that this provides. The same goes for if you are using it with a BB cream or anything that has any skincare benefits. You are diluting the effectiveness of your foundation. And that is one of the sole reasons why I don't mix my foundations very often, because I find that they're not as effective. So if I have a foundation that's fantastic for oil control and I mix it with a white mixer, I'm diluting the effectiveness of the oil control too. But if you're in a pinch or if you really like another foundation, then this is the way to do it. So I'm going to show you how to lighten one of my darker BB creams. You can see that this BB cream is 2 or 3 shades too dark for my skin. So I'm going to pump 1 pump of the white mixer onto the back of my hand. If you don't want to mix on the back of your hand, you can definitely use a mixing palette. Using the back of my hand is absolutely fine for me, but it does end up with a little bit of wasted product. When the 2 shades are mixed together, you can see it is about 1 shade lighter, but it's still a little bit too dark for me. So I'm going to add another pump and mix it all in again. This shade is much better for me, but you can see that the texture has changed. This is now a lot thinner in formula. This is because the white mixer is substantially thinner in formula than the BB cream is. My ratio for this is 2/3 white mixer and 1/3 BB cream. Of course, using the same principle as mixing your foundation, you can mix concealers too, and for that you would want a concealer mixer. I have the NYX HD Photogenic Concealer and mine is in the shade Lavender, so this is specifically for brightening. The reason that I have a brightening concealer is that I use the lighter concealers to conceal underneath my eyes. So the yellow helps brighten it up really nicely for me, but depending on what skin tone you are, this may look a little bit sallow, so just be careful with what colour you choose. You can also of course find white concealer mixes these days, and I hear that Kat Von D makes a beautiful one. Although I haven't tried it, so I cannot really recommend it. But again, depending on what mixer you choose, it can dilute the effectiveness of your concealer. The reason that I don't just buy a lighter concealer is that it is quite hard to find one that's actually lighter than my skin tone. So the one that I could buy would be the NARS Creamy Concealer in Chantilly, but it is about $45 New Zealand dollars. Whereas I already own the Collection Lasting Perfection Concealer in Fair, and this is pretty much exactly the same colour as my skin, so it's really good for spot concealing. I believe this cost me about $10 and my mixer cost me about $5, so I can use this concealer both to spot conceal, and then if I mix them together I can use it to brighten underneath my eyes and highlight my face without spending another $40 on another concealer. So I'm going to show you how I mix my concealers. I'm going to be mixing these 2 concealers together. And again, I'm going to mix them on the back of my hand, but you can use a mixing palette. I'm using a ratio of 1:1 for the concealers, and this is as light as I can make the concealer without making it look too purple. When you mix them together, you can see that the purple definitely brightens up the concealer. And this works really well for me because it definitely brightens up my under eye area. This is what it looks like in comparison to the concealer as normal. You can also see that it does change the texture of the concealer too. I'm going to show you how to use the concealers as well because it does look really purple on the back of my hand. But as you can see when I apply it, it doesn't look purple at all underneath my eyes. It really is just a really light yellow. And this looks really lovely for me. And that is pretty much all you need to know about mixing your foundations and concealers with white mixers. I hope this video was helpful for you porcelain princesses out there, and it doesn't matter if you are yellow toned like me or if you are a cool pink tone. You just have to make sure that your foundation undertone matches you perfectly, and then you can just lighten the colour with the white. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.